So people have asked, Mo, how did you do at the Star City Games event? And my answer is not well, but I learned a lot. And I'll sort of talk to you guys and explain to you guys why I got to the list of the game. Mo, how down in a minute. Let me see here. All right. So people have asked, Mo, how did you do at the Star City Games event? And my answer is not well, but I learned a lot. And I'll sort of talk to you guys and explain to you guys why I got to the list I got to. I'm just gonna leave this up until it takes down, and sort of go over everything with you guys for the tournament. Okay. So we're gonna go over the SCG right now. So this is the SCG list that I played, and I will talk you guys through it. How I arrived on this list, why I made the decisions I made, and why the heck I did not respect Nexus at all. So here's what happened, right? You saw us testing. You were here when we were testing. Some of you guys were. The week that the stuff came out on Arena, the 17th. All that weekend we tested Sultai, and we sort of landed on Sultai pretty quickly. And then we spent the whole next week testing Sultai, playing Sultai, figuring out Sultai was pretty busted, and moving forward. It was pretty great. We had a list that was a little bit different than this. Let me pull that list up really quick so we can talk about that. This was the final list I played. So, on stream, this was the last minute changes I made on the stream. So, we had 4 Thought Erasers, 2 Fine Finalities. We had 2 Biogenic Ooze, 2 Ravenous Chupacabra, 4 Frilled Mystic, 4 Hydroid Crassus, 2 Vivian, 1 Vraska, and then our instants were 1 Assassin's Trophy, 1 Growth Spiral, 4 Moment of Craving, and 4 Vraska's Contempt. 26 lands, and we'll go over sideboard in a minute here. But basically what happened here, let's talk about this here. 1 second. So to sort of talk about how everything went, so we arrived at this list because the decks on Arena that I was testing against were getting destroyed by the value that Hydroid Crassus was generating. People were not prepared for that. They were not ready for that. And they also were just really, really struggling to deal with the Counterspell body, the Frilled Mystic, out in the main deck. They were really, really struggling with that. Okay. Ravenous Chupacabra is just a good value creature. We figured out that Biogenic Ooze was really good at gumming up the board and just slowing down the aggro deck so that we could get our game plan online. Vivian was upticking and finding Hydroid Crassus, a Frilled Mystic, so a counterspell or a kill spell in Chupacabra, or a way to end the game with Biogenic Ooze. Fine Finality and Thought Erasure were just 2 really, really powerful spells. Thought Erasure being a Thought Seize, basically, for standard, and disrupting what your opponent was doing. And Fine Finality being able to rebuy counterspells in Frilled Mystic, kill spells in Ravenous Chupacabra, or just massive card advantage in Hydroid Crassus was insane. Finality also just a relevant board wipe against all the aggro decks that were running around. Assassin's Trophy, I just wanted a catch-all instant in the main to deal with. We're sort of venturing into the unknown. This is an unknown format, and I wanted to have just sort of like a catch-all to it. And Assassin's Trophy just sort of became what I leaned on for that. It was very, very good. Growth Spiral, we're trying to do big mana things. Growth Spiral seemed like a natural inclusion here. It ramps you potentially and gets you cantrips, so it just replaces itself, which is dope. Moment of Craving in the main deck made sense because we were running into a bunch of red on Arena, and Vraska's Contempt, again, we needed to deal with Planeswalkers. This is very good against control decks. It hits all of the walkers. It hits the other opposing Hydroid Crassus. It hits, just big stuff, right? It's very, very good. It's just probably the best removal spell we've got right now. So that's how we landed on this list, is testing on Arena. We play against a bunch of aggro, a bunch of mono white, a bunch of mono red. Not very many control decks and that sort of thing. We also weren't playing against that much Nexus in best of 3. It was almost non-existent. So I was already sort of moving away from cards for or 2 or 4 dealing with Nexus. It was sort of just not on my radar and sort of going away. Like, I was just not respecting it. So this is the list that I left with. When I got to my buddy Jeff's house in Indiana, when we started testing on Thursday night, Friday morning, going out to get cards, we played against. I played against the Gates deck that I'm playing on stream here. I'm playing -4 Nexus of Fate. He was playing Nexus of Fate. But basically a similar list. And I couldn't beat the Nexus. I couldn't beat the Gates deck because they gained a bunch of life. I couldn't kill them before they got their Nexus game plan online. So I just sort of chalked it up to like Gates is a meme. Nobody's gonna be playing it. I'll accept my loss to this one deck. Nobody else is gonna be playing Nexus of Fate. I crushed the red decks. I beat everything. I was struggling though with the Sultai Golgari list, like the Golgari list that basically just added an extra finality in the main and 4 Hydroid Crassus to their deck, with Disdainful Strokes and or Negates in the sideboard. I was struggling with that matchup. So that sort of caused me, over the course of like 8 to 12 hours of testing, it caused me to change the list to what I ended up playing in the tournament, which was this list right here. Let me bounce over there really quick. This was the SCG list that I registered. And so you'll note the notable differences here, chat, are the Moment of Cravings are missing. We played 1 Cry in the main deck, 1 Ritual of Soot in the main deck, and 2 Mass Manipulations. We played 1 Ritual of Soot to deal with the Judith decks. It also got Jade Lights, Branchwalkers, Elves, Incubation Druids that didn't hit. The Jade Light specifically that hit 1 or more lands. Ritual of Soot swept everything in the Sultai deck, in the Sultai Golgari list, because they cut Carnage Tyrants for Hydroid Crassus. Hydroid Crassus, when it's on the battlefield, has a CMC of X equals 2. Or I'm sorry, a CMC of 2 and X equals 0. So Ritual of Soot hits anything that's 3 or less. Hydroid Crassus falls into that category. You hit everything in the deck with Ritual of Soot, which felt really good. And then if they did stick something huge, in the late game, like a Vivian, a Vraska, something like that, or a big Hydroid Crassus, Mass Manipulation, they weren't playing counterspells in the main, and we were playing Mass Manipulation. We just take their board. So what we'd end up doing is just buying time with our Hydroid Crassus, our Frilled Mystics, Ravenous Chupacabra. Like, we were just like trading off as much as we possibly could, and then Mass Manipulation, taking their board. There was one board state where I got to take a Vivian, a Vraska, and a Jade Light, like a 3/2 Jade Light. That felt pretty good. One of my opponents ticked up a Vivian to X equals 8. I stole it with Mass Manipulation and emblemed it, and then proceeded to beat down my opponent with Indestructible 4/4 Hydroid Crassus. It was pretty dope. Mass Manipulation was really, really overperforming against the Sultai Golgari decks. Really, really overperforming against the Sultai Golgari decks. Any mid-range deck, really. There was like a green-white mid-range list that was playing like Shalais. It was playing like the 4/4 Centaurs, and that sort of things. And we were able to take that. Yeah, MTGA is down, chat. Like it is down real quick. It is down for maintenance. It'll be down for 2 hours. But the list ended up overperforming against the Sultai mid-range lists, and that was the list that everybody was on. I went to an FNM, a local FNM there, where the BCW guys were playing. So it's like Jim Davis, Ross Merriam, the like. I think Dylan was also there. So they were playing, and they were all playing, or the majority of people there were on the Sultai Golgari list, and there were a lot of big name players there. So at the FNM, I played against the matchup a lot. I won a lot, and I felt very good about the changes I made, and I went into the tournament ready to play against the Sultai Golgari list, to play against the mono red players that couldn't get the cards they needed. There were some issues obtaining cards. Like a lot of people wanted to play Hydroid Crassus, and it was sold out everywhere. My group bought a case of cards, a case of Ravnica Allegiance, and we got 1 Hydroid Crassus in 6 boxes. It was insane how difficult it was to find Hydroid Crassus. So, so I ended up registering this list, feeling pretty good. Feeling very good about my Golgari matchup, my Sultai Golgari matchup. Feeling very good about the other, like the Esper control list. The Esper control list is a very, very good matchup for us. It was very, very good at beating up the red decks, and our sideboard plan just made it insanely good against the red decks. And so I was really prepared for all of that. Now get to the tournament. Fast forward to the tournament, I see that there are a few players that had sort of discovered the tech to beat the Nexus decks if they did show up. Now me, again, I was not really respecting them. I did not respect the Nexus decks, and so round 1 I played against Mono Red. I absolutely crushed the matchup. I win game 1, and then game 2 I board in 3 Thorn Lieutenants, 4 Moment of Craving, and I just cut my top end. The Vivians of Vraska's come out. I cut the Fine Finalities. I cut Mass Manipulations. All this stuff comes out, and we just bring in 4 Moment of Craving, 3 Thorn Lieutenants, and it just absolutely crushed the red deck, right? We go over top of them with our Hydroid Crassus. We kill all their stuff with Ravenous Chupacabras and Biogenetic Ooze. Eventually just takes over the game. Easy 2-0, right? Round 2, I play against Fish, Merfolk, for those of you guys uninitiated with the term Fish. I lose game 1 because I stumble on mana and he had double Spell Pierce and a dive down for a removal spell, which was, it kind of just threw me off. He also had just like Lords, right? He went like turn 1 Benthic, turn 2 Merfolk Lord, turn 3 Kumina, and I was kind of spooked. I tried to resolve a board wipe with Ritual Soot, and he Spell Pierced it, and then I tried to cast my Fine Finality on 6, and he Spell Pierced that as well, and he had a dive down for a Contempt I tried earlier on his Kumina. So he beat me game 1. Game 2 I board in very similarly. I board in the Cry because the fish are kind of tiny. Initially they are. I boarded in 4 Moment of Craving, 3 Thorn Lieutenants, again cutting the top end, very similar. I ended up shaving Frilled Mystics against them because there was not much to counter. We weren't really getting into counter wars, and the mana cost was kind of restrictive. Frilled Mystics very good against the control decks in the longer games, and easy to cast in the mid-range decks where you've got some time to build up your mana sources. Not very good against somebody who's going 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, smash your face with counterspell backup, right? Not really where you want to be. So I ended up boarding out stuff like that. I realize I'm talking very fast. So if I am going too fast, or if you want me to sort of like reiterate some stuff, please let me know, chat. I'm happy to stop and slow down for you. So I ended up beating my opponents in games 2 and 3. So we started off 2-0, which is pretty great. I was really, really happy with that. Round 3, I play against my first Nexus player, and he was playing a Dawn of Hope version. So he was playing a Dawn of Hope version, which meant that I don't think he was playing Teferis, or at least he didn't show me a Teferi in game 1. And I drew like Ravenous Chupacabras, I drew Biogenic Oozes, I drew my Mass Manipulations, my Fine Finales. I didn't draw the right half of my deck, so to speak, against the Nexus player game 1. I was worried going into the board because I didn't really have much. Board in the negates here. We boarded Argyle's Bloodfast. We boarded Unborn Ego. And I did end up boarding in a couple of Thorn Lieutenants just to try to pressure my opponent early. And this is something I could sort of like pump. Oh God, what's happening? Oh God, what's happening? I just want to mouse over my Thorn Lieutenant. Nope. All right, we're done with that. So the Thorn Lieutenant is something you can pump a little bit later, and get some extra damage in if you have open mana. So I did board in Thorn Lieutenants and try to get some damage through that way. I ended up taking game 2, and then when my opponent was on the play, I sort of stumbled on lands. I kept a 3-lander and never got to 4, so I couldn't really get my Frilled Mystics online to counter, and he sort of just got me. I didn't respect. I didn't have a very good sideboard plan for Nexus. Again, I didn't respect it. I learned my lesson. Round 4, I think I played against. Let's see here. I think I played against Zach Canner. Canner MTG. He streams. He's another streamer. He was playing like a Bant control list. He was playing Teferi. He was not playing Nexus, right? He was playing Teferi. He was playing like Angel of Grace, and Hydroid Crassus as his win conditions. I ended up winning that game because Vivian Vraska, Hydra Crassus, Fine Finality, Frilled Mystics just grinded him out of the game. And because I was really scared. I was really scared of him playing Nexus against me. So I didn't tap out. Yeah, Z-Canner. Yeah, I played against Z-Canner. So I was really scared of him Nexusing me for game 1, but he never showed it to me. There was one point where I had to tap out for a Hydra Crassus to just sort of try to gas up. He never really punished me for it. And he had drawn several cards at this point. Like, we're talking like several Chemister's Insights, Teferi activation, stuff like that. If he had Nexus, he would have absolutely gone off with it. So I stopped playing around Nexus at that point, and I started just I dealt with his one Teferi he put in play, and then I resolved several Frilled Mystics. No, you do not get access to your opponent's deck list before you play them, Crypt. No, but I did end up taking that game. He ran out of cards in his library. He's down to like the last 4 to 5 cards in his library, and he cast it to Teferi, and then I mass manipulation just took it, and then he scooped the game. Game 2, I boarded in Argyle's Bloodfast, some negates, and Eldritch Reborn, and I cut the sort of the spells that don't really matter. I cut like Ravenous Chupacabra. I cut like Cryocarnarium and Ritual of Soot, and kept everything else. Got my opponent Zach. He really stumbled on lands. I think he kept like a 2-lander that looked good with his Canta, and it just never panned out for him. And I just sort of beat him down with Ooze. I played like an Ooze on 4 because I got to ramp with a Growth Spiral. So I ramped with the Growth Spiral, played an Ooze on 4, and then just made tokens and beat him down game 2. I got a 2-0 there. Round 5, I played against another Nexus player. Very similar thing. I wasn't prepared for it game 1. Drew the wrong half of my deck. Got really punished for not having a sideboard plan. Easy 2-0 for my opponent there. I go into the next round. I play against another Nexus player. Same verse, repeat it. It was just like I wasn't prepared for it game 1. I didn't have a sideboard plan for it. Game 2, easily taken down. And then the last round I played was my 4th loss, and I've never lost a more beautiful game of Magic, chat. I have to tell you about this. So game 1, my opponent comes out the gate swing. He's playing red-green. He goes Zertok Goblin on 2, haste, bop, got me. All right. Turn 3, he plays Rhythm, hits me for 2 again. I Moment of Craving his Goblin. Post combat, I was just waiting for like a better threat. He played Rhythm, and then I killed his Goblin. On turn 4, he played, I think, a Ripjaw Raptor and hit me for 4, and then he played a Regisaur Alpha after that, hit me for more. I ended up dying. Game 2, I board in like Biogenetic Ooze, Eldritch Reborn, and some number of Moment of Craving just to slow my opponent down. I get him there. I beat down my opponent with Oozes, and it goes really like the Ooze overperformed. It was just so good. It was very, very good. Now, the game 3 chat. This is the most beautiful thing that you could ever have happen to you. If you ever lose a game, try to lose games like this, okay? My opponent is on the play, mulls to 4. Scry ships it to the bottom. He's like super depressed, knows that he's not going to win. He keeps his hand, passes his turn. He plays 0 lands. He puts 0 lands into play and passes his turn. I draw. Looking at my hand, I now have 8 cards in my hand because I kept my 7. And then I slammed a land and passed my turn. My opponent draws a card, says go. Plays 0 lands. No lands in play. I draw my next card. I shock myself, thought erasure my opponent. Now, when you thought erasure your opponent and they've mulled to 4 and they haven't played any lands, you expect to see some gas in there. My opponent shows me a hand with 2 Nullhide Ferrex and the rest were lands. I was blown away. I was like, why didn't you play your lands? He goes, I thought I was going to lose. I thought you had it. And I was like, oh, well, I'll take the legal target, which is Null Hide Ferrex. My man goes, trigger? And I was like, trigger resolves. Now, I go, I'm going to pass my turn. He's like, is it my turn? I was like, yes. Before the man draws, he goes, attack you for 6. I was like, he turned his dude sideways. He's like, attack you for 6, draw. He was like drawing and hitting me for 6 at the same time. And I was like, yeah, 14. Or I'm sorry, I was at 12 because I shocked myself. And then he plays his land because I knew about it. And then he hit me for 6 again. And then 6 again. Which you'll note, chat, is lethal. That's lethal. So yeah, we died, and that was pretty bad, and I was kind of sad about that. That was paper. That was a paper game, yeah, Rusty. Sort of giving a recap of my tournament that I played in this past weekend. So that was my 4th loss. I checked the drop box from the tournament. I went to go see how my other friends were doing. My buddy Jeff playing Gates was, I believe, 6-2. Which was really exciting. So he had the shot. He had a shot at at winning and making it to day 2. He ended up losing his last round for 6-3, and 6-3 did not make day 2 of the tournament. Unfortunate because I think he had a really good shot at winning. Gates is a real deck now, Amir. So that's how the tournament went for me, chat. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. The sideboard tech that the Sultai Golgari lists had, for the event, chat, to beat the Nexus decks, because they respected the Nexus decks. I did not. What they had in their sideboard chats was 4 Thief of Sanity. Thief of Sanity, turns out, is very, very good against a Nexus deck that's not really trying to kill your creatures and is trying to beat you through life gain. So what you do is you board in 4 Thief of Sanity, you play it on 3, and you hit your opponent, and you take a Nexus, or you take a Wilderness Reclamation, or you take a Counterspell, or you take anything from their deck. They're all very good cards. And you beat them, right? That's just what you do. I did not have the Thief of Sanity as my sideboard. I was not respecting this matchup at all, and I felt kind of bad about my poor decision to not respect the Nexus matchup. That deck is very powerful still. It's still doing a very powerful thing. I didn't think it was very good. I still don't think it's very good because there's a lot of enchantment hate, and I think that once people start recognizing that the weakness to the deck, how you beat the deck is just destroying their enchantments. Did you 0-4? No, I did not. I went 3-4. What's going on with the arena update right now? I don't know, bud. But yeah, so real quick, let me just wrap this up, chat. So that's how my tournament went. I appreciate you guys all listening to this. And I look forward to having more tournaments, getting more tournaments under my belt. I think I'm going to a tournament here in a couple months. I'll get you guys updated on that as soon as I know for sure if I'm going. But yeah, I should be going in a couple of months to an event. But thank you guys for listening. Appreciate that. And yeah, it's pretty dope.